Good morning. Hello. I'm going to take a pause here for just a minute as people are rolling in, but welcome this morning. There we go. Coming in. Y'all are rolling in strong now. Glad to have you join us this morning for this Crossroads webinar. Give just another few seconds here and we'll get started. Well, we'll get going and more people will be joining us as we go. My name is 𝙂𝙚𝙩. Welcome to the Minnesota Crossroads Career Network webinar this morning, and hope you all have your mug of coffee handy or a Red Bull or whatever it is you get your jolt from in the morning, or just being high on life. But glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to a great webinar this morning. We've got Sherry Anderson that's going to talk about getting in the habit of networking, and she and I discussed it yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to having you hear this because I think it's going to help a ton of you. Everybody seems to know that networking is important for a job search. Very few people actually do it or do it effectively, and it seems intimidating to a lot of people, but I think Sherry's going to help with that tremendously. So I'm really glad you're here to be able to hear that from her. We've got a couple things beforehand. I just wanted to share something, and then I've got a short video for you that I hope will be inspiring and give you a little energy there as well. And then we'll turn it over to Sherry, and then afterwards I'll give you an overview of everything else we offer through Crossroads. But I encourage you to hang on and listen because we have a couple of special events coming up here this next month that I think you'll really want to know, especially for those of you that are local here in the Twin Cities area, and want you to be able to take advantage of those. And so I'll describe that after Sherry's presentation this morning. But, part of our hope with Crossroads is that along with helping people succeed in their job search, we also talk about bigger issues and point people to the hope and encouragement of Jesus Christ. It should be no surprise that the Bible has a great deal of wisdom for life. There's a cliche that people often use that says that the Lord will never give you more than you can handle. And people that say that mean well, trying to encourage someone that's facing a challenge in their life that they have the strength to overcome. The thing is, that idea is really not in the Bible. There certainly are times that we face in our lives that are beyond our ability to handle. That the Bible does say that, though, that when we trust in the Lord, He will never leave us and never forsake us. And in the book of Isaiah, there's a great passage that makes it clear that it's His strength and not ours that gets us through the storms in life. It says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, He increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who depend on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." That's some great encouragement. And when you face challenges in life, like a job loss, put your trust in God and lean into His strength when you feel like your own strength is growing thin. I hope that you get some perspective from that sometimes we do need to rely on somebody else. And some people criticize Christianity as saying it's, well, for people that need a crutch. Well, yeah, I do. There are times in my life I need help, and God is there to provide that for us. Let me open us in a word of prayer, and then we'll continue with the rest of our content this morning. Lord, I'm just grateful for the people that are here this morning, and that even though we're just online virtually, not seeing each other, but that we can all share in some great content and some things that can be helpful and encouraging and useful in our circumstances. Father, I pray that you use this time for your purposes, that people hear what they need to hear this morning and take away something that is going to make a difference in their lives, whether it's for their job search, for their confidence, or being able to get a better perspective of the work that you're doing in their lives. Lord, thank you for all the ways that you bless us, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Let me shift to I've got a short video here with Scott Hamilton, the Olympic gold medal figure skater from many years ago. But as many of you know, he faced some real challenges after that. He had a brain tumor and went through a challenging time. And this should give you some perspective of what he gained and what he learned in that process.
I don't think anyone's truly equipped to go out in front of 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion people on an Olympic stage, and you're scared out of your mind. On a 200 by 100 surface of ice, you wonder why you do this because you're so nervous. On 2 10-inch lengths of 1/4-inch wide steel, through this, just get me through this. And you're to manipulate those edges for 4.5 minutes and do triple jumps and athleticism and not make a mistake. It's impossible. But I found a way to be just good enough to win the gold medal. The more I look back on it, I think it's unbelievably awesome. Like, that was me. You know, I always thought if I could be really good on the ice, you know, I could become famous. I think I'm probably more known for my health problems now than I am for anything I ever did on skates. When I was very little, I suffered from a disease that stopped me from growing. It was in and out of hospitals for years, and I was never really home. And so what ended up happening was I came back from kind of being in and out of hospitals, and I ended up going to the skating club thing just by accident. And I found skating, which kind of took on a life of its own, and it progressed. And pretty soon I'm competing. Pretty soon I'm living away from home. All my role models and the people that were teaching me how to live day to day were older skaters. So there was a lot of it that was terrific, but a lot of it that really wasn't guiding me in any real direction. It wasn't until I suffered the devastation of my mother losing her battle to cancer that something was awakened in me. I knew I needed something more, something better. I think I needed to have some strength, and my mother was my source of strength. When she was living, I would disappoint her, but when she was gone, I just didn't ever want to be less than she thought I could be. I was happy to just work. I was happy to just entertain. I'd do well, and I think that was good enough. Skating had given me life as a child, and it given me, you know, kind of a strength as an adult. But what was about to happen really changed my life forever. You know, cancer, it put me into a phase of my life where I just needed to kind of sort it all out. I just survived something. Why? I survived something that took the most important person in my life off the planet. That was my mother. She died of cancer, and I survived. What's my purpose now? What do I need to do? How do I? And a big part of that dust settling was getting with Tracy. And she brought me to the church. She took me to a minister, a man named 𝙂𝙚𝙩. And the first thing he said to me, which was extraordinary, was, he goes, you have to understand that Christianity is a faith of history. These things actually happened. And I go, okay, that's a good starting off point. And just study what has happened and see how that resonates in your own life. And it grew. It just sort of, it's like, okay, I get it. When you survive testicular cancer and you want to start a family, you don't know what the issues are going to be. And I prayed that I would someday become a father. Tracy and I, we got engaged and married And then my son was born 9 months and 2 days after we got married. So I guess there was a plan there. I thought I paid my health dues when I had cancer, but this was a whole nother issue. I have a brain tumor. How do I tell my wife? And we have a 14-month-old son. How do I tell my wife that I have a brain tumor? I'd just gotten the news an hour before. I met them at the hotel, and she goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "I have a brain tumor." And she took my hands, and without hesitation, she just started to pray. And it was in that moment I knew where I was going to put everything. My trust, my faith, everything. So the most powerful moment of my life. From that moment forward, we just said, whatever it is, whatever it takes, we'll face this. When they're gonna do a biopsy, they tell you, we're gonna drill a hole in your head, and then we're gonna take a needle down through your brain and take a piece of the tumor. They said, we seem to have found a safe corridor to do this. And I go, well, I'm not using most of it. But they tell you all the things that can go wrong in that surgery. And I remember waking up, and I looked at the clock, and it was 10:20. I knew where I was. And then the next thing I saw was my wife come in with a smile on her face. She said, they know what it is. And they found out that that brain tumor was one that I was born with, one that I'd had since birth, which inhibited my growth as a young child. That was the mysterious illness I had that they never diagnosed that got me into skating. Who would I be without a brain tumor? I'm 5'4". If I were 5'8", if I would have grown those years, 5'10", where would I be? Who would I be? I could choose to look at it as debilitating, could choose to focus on the suffering. I choose to look at that brain tumor as the greatest gift I could have gotten, because it made everything else possible. I didn't see past it this time. I didn't think I would survive. One point I was starting to really feel weak. And one nurse in particular, I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I just was uncomfortable. And she was, can I get you anything? And I just said, no. I go, I'm just a little scared. She said, do you pray? I said, yes. And she said, what do you say when you pray? I go, well, I just thank God for all the blessings in my life. Do you ask him for anything? No. I just want him to know I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Well, who is God to you? And I said, well, I guess he's my father. Oh, you're a father, right? Yes. If one of your children were hurting, wouldn't you want him to come to you for comfort, strength? Yes. So I changed the way I pray now. I ask. Uninhibitedly, I ask. I ask to heal. I ask for strength. I ask for courage. I ask for another child. Want to talk about miracles? It's after surviving the pituitary brain tumor, it's impossible, practically impossible. I did 6 injections a week for 2 years. No luck. We're not meant to have another child. We gave that to God. A month later, we found out that Max was on his way. Miracle Max. When I look back and I see all those little moments in my life where I needed a great deal of strength, I understand that through a strong relationship with Jesus, you can endure anything. I just learned that the only true disability in life is a bad attitude. God is there to guide you through the tough spots. God was there every single time. Every single time. My name is Scott Hamilton, and I am second.
Sorry, just a moment. There we go. Sorry about that. Having trouble getting my stuff back on, but kind of following up on the theme of what I mentioned earlier, that we can get through anything with God's help and his strength. I love his one line in there: the only true disability in life is a bad attitude. And I think that is very true. And the need for us to try to stay optimistic and positive and rely on God during the challenges in life, when things are discouraging or when things aren't going our ways, that it makes all the difference in the world. And in terms of job search, it makes a big difference in terms of coming across as optimistic and positive and forward looking in networking meetings and in interviews. Nobody wants to hire an Eeyore. I say that often, but it's true. And a lot of people sabotage their job search because they come across as defeated and discouraged, and you don't want to do that. I am really glad to introduce Sherry Anderson. Sherry has been volunteering with us with Crossroads for a while now and has done other presentations. I'm really grateful for all that she does. Professionally, she's in learning and development and organizational development, and has done some great things. She's going to tell you some things in this presentation that I think might surprise you, but and she'll talk more about her background and experience as well. But I'm really glad for the way she presents herself in terms of does great presentations, but the ideas that she has in this and getting in the habit of networking. You know, I think in the long run, whether you're employed or not, having a lifestyle of networking is going to benefit you far more than just doing it as an event when you need it. And we'll touch on some of those things. But as you have any comments or questions, you can put those in the chat box, and we can I'll share those with Sherry, and we can discuss them as we have breaks in the discussion here as well. But Sherry, glad to have you join us, and looking forward to your presentation for the next hour.
Thank you. I'm pleased as punch to be here to meet all you lovely people. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me a moment. Harry, can you see my screen?
Audio, yes, I can.
Excellent.
Slide mode.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Hey, everyone. So very, very lucky to be here. I'm really feel honored to be with you during this time together. Boy, the video like really was very powerful. What a great way to start a moment with you. So Harry mentioned that I'm a learning and development person. I train and facilitate, coach, do instructional design. I've worked at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, Ameriprise Financial, and a bunch of small places, which is, you know, a many and varied field. But I think the thing that's most important for you to know is that in October, I was let go from my job. I let go from my job. I made a goal for myself that I would have a new job by the beginning of the year that I would love. And the person who was coaching me at the time, my career coach, was like, "That's not very realistic for that time of the month and for your the level of job that you're at, it usually takes, 1 month per every, 1 month. It takes usually from 3 to 6 months. And I'm like, okay, but I'm going to get a job. And I'm really, through the power of networking, which is why I'm here, and, help from above, I was fortunate enough that I started a new job on January 2nd. So, and all of that happened through networking. So today, so that's why I'm so passionate about teaching, talking about networking and making it a habit that is so small you can do it even when you're completely unmotivated. So here's what we got in front of us today. I'm going to talk briefly about networking and why it's important. I'm going to teach you a technique, a goal attainment technique called Tiny Habits. It's out of Stanford University. It is the ability to basically take really big goals and break them down into steps that are so small you can do them when you're completely unmotivated and overwhelmed. Then we're going to talk about some networking suggestions, some real quick things you're going to do, and you will leave this presentation with some recipes for tiny habits that you can take for networking that you can take, and as soon as you're done with this presentation, you can start working on them. So hopefully that works for people. Thumbs up. All righty. Why is networking important? So you're here, so Crossroads talks a lot about it. Here's some statistics. 70% of jobs are not posted on job boards. That means all the stuff that you see in Indeed or LinkedIn is really only 30% of the jobs out there. The rest of the jobs are, and this was actually ended up in my case, aren't posted. They're happening, they're secret jobs within an organization that people only find out when they're, friends of friends or networking acquaintances. They find out about the job. 85% of positions are filled through personal and professional connections. When I was unemployed, I was fortunate enough to be in an interview process with 7 different organizations. And of those 7, 5 of them came from networking, including the job that I have currently. So it's who you know. And so I'm really excited to get you to do that. And then a plug for LinkedIn. When recruiters, LinkedIn, 77% of recruiters use LinkedIn as a recruiting tool. And so looking at your networks, taking a look at your bio, so something to think about. So these statistics are great. I'd like to share my story of networking. As I said, 5 out of 7 came from networking, including the one that I'm in now. So before I'm working at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise now, and I was also working at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise in October when I was part of a workforce reduction, and they let me go. Before I knew I was going to be let go, I had set up an informational interview with someone that I'd worked with on a project. She worked in an organization that I wanted to know more about. She did kind of work that was similar to what I like and where my passions are. And she rocked. So I set up a meeting to talk to her. And then I found out I was going to be let go. I was so kind of like despairing at that time that I almost canceled, because I was just like, I just can't handle it. But then I'm like, Sherry, networking is the thing that's going to get you your job. So suck it up and go and do the interview. So I meet with her. We're having a great conversation. She asked me more about what I did. And I said, well, I do training and facilitation. I'm really a learning and development person, a Jill of all trades. And she said, well, we happen to have a job posting coming up it's not even posted yet, for someone to be a master facilitator. And she said, would you be interested? I said, yeah, well, I'm actually part of the workforce reduction. So yeah, I'd be very interested. So she said, that's great. So let's get you going. So I gave her my resume. She passed it on to her boss, the hiring leader, and that boss passed it over to the recruiter. So I passed that whole paper cut thing and went straight to the recruiter. I met with the recruiter. We had a good conversation, and I asked her, what is she, what questions does she have walking out of this meeting? And she said, well, I appreciate getting to meet you, but the job is actually in Houston. They're looking for someone in Houston. So, and I was like, oh, bummer. So I'm not moving to Houston. So I kind of, you win some, you lose some. I, had a moment of sadness, but then I, moved on, doing interviews, doing, all the things you do with when you're looking for a job, meeting people, going to association meetings, writing thank you notes, the whole thing, applying for jobs. That same recruiter calls me back in mid-November, or in mid-November, and says, hey, I'm not sure if you remember, but we met, in this other interview process. I actually know of a job that for someone who's remote. I've asked them if they'd be interested in talking to you. I've given them their resume, and they said they're really interested in talking to you. And I said, well, sure, I'll be happy to. So I met with them. I met with the person who is now my boss. I adored her, did the interviews like you do up the chain. I was lucky enough to get offered the job. I love my job. I love my job. And I feel so fortunate to be here. And none of that would have happened had I skipped out on that meeting with that woman in the other organization. Had I not done the networking, had I not made the connection, I literally wouldn't be where I am now talking to you. So that is the power of networking, which you probably know. Another thing that you probably know is that it's really overwhelming. It's hard, especially if you're an introvert. It's hard to get to talk to new people. It's hard to ask for help. There's so many different ways to network. It's hard to know where to start, where to begin. And it can be a really overwhelming process, as important as it is. Well, today we're going to teach you a technique that will help you break that big old elephant of networking down into a step so small that you can do it and get some momentum going and make networking not only an important part of your life, but a genuinely enjoyable part. Which is where Tiny Habits comes in. So what is Tiny Habits, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. It is a behavior adoption technique based on easy to do actions that take between 30 seconds and 3 minutes that inspire additional actions about goals. It's about teeny, tiny steps that move people forward. So an example would be someone who wants to get in shape and wants to start walking. Instead of setting a goal for walking and Tiny Habits, you would set the goal for looking for putting on your tennis shoes when you come home after work. So every day you come off to work, you put on your tennis shoes. That's the goal. Now, as you can imagine, if you have your tennis shoes on, you're probably going to go outside and take a little walk. But the goal is to do this small habit that leads you to the bigger habits. It was created by a gentleman by the name of Dr. 𝙂𝙚𝙩, who is a researcher and professor at Stanford University. He created the study of captology, was the art of computer programs getting humans to do things. So think of this as the algorithm. So, when you're in TikTok and you take a look at a kitten video and it tells you other kitten videos that you click on, that's captology. Amazon, same thing. You click on a link for bath towels, it gives you, at the bottom it says other people who have bought this have also liked or like these materials. So gets you to click on those links. Captology, the power of captology is that it's easy. People will not take these steps unless they're easy to do. The links work, they're easy to find, the steps are quick, they're easy. And Dr. 𝙂𝙗 decided to see if you could try taking those quick, easy steps to change human behavior, to help people in their wellness goals. So like any good scientist, he started with himself. He wanted to get into shape, so he started a goal. He was trying to think of what's something really tiny that I can do in like 30 seconds or less that I can do to get myself in shape. And he decided on a push-up. He's like, I can do one push-up. So every time he went to the bathroom, he would stop and he would do a push-up. Super easy, right? Takes him, less than 30 seconds. So every time he went to the bathroom, he did a push-up, bathroom push-up. After a while, he's like, well, I can do 2 push-ups. And so he would do 2 push-ups. And then over time, he would do 3 and 4 and 10 and 30. And now he's up to 60 push-ups. all by the power of starting to do one. So he started with himself. He got some, he thought he might have something on there. He started offering this program for free, which he still does, to other people to see if it worked. And now at this date, he's had it's been used by over 60,000 participants who have had, started businesses, improved their health, all sorts of things. And he's written a book called Tiny Habits, Small Changes That Change Everything. And there's a really good tech talk. So look up Dr. BJ Fogg and Tiny Habits, and you'll be able to see the tech talk, more information on that. So this is Tiny Habits. Let me talk to you a little bit more how Tiny Habits works. So you want to change. There's something you want to change. That's why we're all here. We want to change. We want to add more networking into our life. We are not at a place where we're like, no one here is like, my networking program rocks. I don't need any help. We all have things we want to change. And we're all motivated to make those changes. But no matter how motivated or disciplined we are, a lot of us have a hard time making a change. I know I do. We think that by trying hard enough and by being disciplined enough and having enough will and caring enough that we're going to be able to make the change. But that's not the case. If you're trying to make a change and you're not making it happen, it's not you. It is not you. And this process is going to teach you how to do it. A lot of people think that change has to do with willpower, that if you have enough willpower, if you're disciplined enough, you're going to be able to make the change. That's not true. Willpower is a finite resource in us. Even this gentleman over here who looks so tough and determined, willpower is you only have so much of it, and it only gets you so far. It's an important part, but you cannot use force of will every day to set a habit. It's just not going to. It's not going to work. You can't. It's not the thing that's going to change. Willpower goes up and down. It modulates. So you need to be able to make a habit that is small enough to be able to do even when you're unmotivated. Now, this page is my favorite page. One of the things I would like you to take away, if you take away nothing else from this session, is that you're an experimenter. When you're trying to make a change, most of us say, well, I'm going to run a marathon, or I'm going to eat healthier. We try things for a couple of weeks. We may even get a little longer. We might get some practice, but eventually the change stops. And at that point, we think we failed. We didn't have enough willpower. It's just, we failed. But the thing is, when change stopped, it doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you need to change the experiment. There's all sorts of levers and qualities that need to happen when you make a change. And if a change doesn't work, it's not you, it's the experiment. You need to start tweaking those levers until you find a combination of them that works for you and makes it work. So when you commit to being an experimenter as well as the experiment, when you commit to making the change and commit to trying different things and trying this or saying this or changing the behavior or where you do it, if you commit to that practice, if you use your willpower to commit to that practice, I don't say this very often. I don't like her hyperbole when talking to audiences, but you will, I guarantee you, if you commit to being the experimenter, you will make the change. You will find the recipe of elements that need to come together for you to make the change if you commit to being the experimenter. Thus end my lecture or my rant. So how do you make the change? It's by habit design. One of the most important things you can do is to have consistency, to do small things that happen over time that you do on a regular basis. You know, you can have a one-time, I like, Scott Hamilton, I have cancer, so I've made all these changes. That's important. You can make changes that way, but that's probably not, those changes are good for like one-time events. Like I got cured from cancer, so I'm moving to Paris. That's a one-time event. But if you want to make changes over time, it's those small incremental changes that are really the ones that give you traction and make true transformation for us normal folks, not in the midst of cataclysmic change. So we're going to talk about how to make habit design. This is where Tiny Habits comes in. So, tiny habits. So we all have big goals. We all have a goal of having networking being a bigger part of our life. Now, saying you want to have networking being a bigger part of your life and making it a bigger part of your life, there's some steps that need to happen in between. So here are some examples of goals and tiny habits. They don't have to do with networking, but they do have to do with making change. So say you have a goal, I want to be healthy. We all have probably that goal. What tiny habits does is it breaks it into a step so small, under 30 seconds, that encourage you or inspires you to take further action on your goal. So a tiny habit would be, the goal is I want to be healthy. A tiny habit would be, I spend 30 seconds looking at a salad menu options at a restaurant before looking at the rest of the menu. That's the habit. That's all you do. I spend 30 seconds looking at the menu. As you can imagine, if you spend that time really looking at the salad, you look at that before anything else, there's an excellent possibility that you will probably, end up taking a salad. That is the end goal, but the step, the tiny habit is I'm just, when I go to a restaurant, the first thing I'm going to do is look at the salads. That's the tiny habit. Another example is I want to save money. This again can be completely overwhelming. There's only so far money can go, and saving money can be hard. But if you break it down into, I will put $1 in my savings account every night after I get in bed, it's pretty easy. I think most of us, are fortunate enough to have $1, and if $1 is not enough, make it 50 cents or a quarter. Every night before I go to bed, I get on my phone, I go to the banking account, and I add $1 into my savings account. No big deal. Do it every night before I go to bed. It takes 30 seconds to be able to do. Well, probably, if you do it one night after a couple of weeks, you're probably going to try it again and add $2. And then you realize maybe, I can do $5 today. And you get in the habit of putting that money away, and it'll grow. And over time, it will inspire future changes. Now, here's my favorite one. This is one of my coaches had this happen. She wanted to be a writer, and she was a writer, but she wanted to write. And she set a goal for herself that she spends 15 minutes writing in her bathroom after brushing her teeth at night. So every night she would brush her teeth, she would stay in the bathroom, she'd get out her phone, and she'd write on her phone for 15 minutes. That's it. She didn't set a goal in terms of what she needed to accomplish. She just spent 15 minutes after brushing her teeth every night. She wrote a novel. So again, it's those small, tiny steps that build over time. That's what we're trying to do. Harry and I were talking about earlier that the elephant, it can feel like I want to be a writer, I want to be healthy, I want to save money, are such big, intimidating goals that they're hard to get their mind around. But if you can break them down into steps that are so teeny tiny that you can do them, then you can start making practice. We're going to do that same thing with networking. So tiny habits is as easy as ABC. I mentioned that you need to have certain elements in place to make change happen. Dr. Fogg has a technique that helps, a recipe that is powerful in terms of helping set yourself up for success. There's 3 different elements to it. One is an anchor. This is a pre-existing habit to which you attach your tiny habit. We all have dozens and dozens of habits we do every day: brushing our teeth, helping our kids get to school, et cetera, et cetera. So we connect the habit we want to do to one of those habits. And then we have the behavior. Again, it's 30 seconds to 3 minutes, something really small to do, really tiny small to do that you can do even when you're not motivated, intimidated, overwhelmed. You can still do this tiny habit because it's so user-friendly. And then one of the things that people forget is celebration. Congratulate yourself for doing it. The more positive energy you bring to your change, the more likely you are to do it. A little bit more about anchor. So we talked about the fact that you probably have dozens of habits that you are working on, or excuse me, you already have dozens of habits that you already have on a daily basis. it starts from the moment you put your feet on the floor to the moment that you go to bed at night. Literally putting your feet on the floor. That's everyone feet on, get up out of bed. That's a habit. Brushing your teeth, that's another habit. Eating breakfast is another habit. Doing the dishes, bringing your kids to school, feeding your pets, all of these habits. There's dozens of habits every day that you already have that you can use to attach the behavior. When you attach a behavior, it's important to do it after the anchor habit. So it's harder to remember if you say, before I have breakfast, I will ... Fogg tried it, and it was just, it didn't work after a lot of experimentations. But if you put your new behavior, the new tiny habit, after the anchor, that's when you really get some power, or get some real traction on it. And it's the anchor, it's very small. So when we talk about the anchor, it's not just after I get done for breakfast, it is after I put the cereal box in the counter or in the cupboard and shut the cupboard door, then I will. Getting really specific about that anchor is what's going to help you move in the right direction. So once, like when BJ Fogg had the habit of exercise, getting a healthy habit, doing those push-ups, he did it after he went to the bathroom. He said every time he washed his hands, when he was done, he would do a push-up. So once you get the anchor, then there is the small step. Again, these steps are short in duration. They are easy to do. Some of them can be kind of fun. And oh, hold on. Sorry about this. I skipped ahead. Short in duration, easier to do, and inspire future action. So another way I used a tiny habit. So I talked to a doctor who said I needed to exercise more. I was having some health issues, and I was like, I will do anything to get better. And he said, exercise for 20 minutes of aerobic exercise every morning. I'm like, anything but that. I was really salty about it. I just didn't want to do the exercise. And so, but I was thinking about what he said. He said, yeah, it made sense. So I was really rebellious at that time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to exercise, but I'm only going to do it for 5 minutes, and I'm not going to put on exercise clothes. I'm only going to do things I can do in my pajamas. So I did some yoga techniques, some stretching, and I did it for 5 minutes, and I felt pretty good. And, it got my heart rate up, and, got my blood pumping. And then, I think a week later, I'm like, you know what, why don't I try it for 7 minutes? And so 7 minutes isn't so far away. So I tried it for 7 minutes, and then I got up, I think, to 11 minutes. I'm like, okay, I really do. Okay, I'll put on exercise clothes. I'll do it in the morning, and I'll try something aerobic. So then I moved to doing something 20 minutes a day. Well, from that, I went up to exercising 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. I have run 10 5Ks and done 4 triathlons. So, and it all came from that one step of of 5 minutes in my pajamas, all the way to the triathlons, through that really teeny tiny step that you take. Now here is the secret sauce. A lot of people think that I'm kidding about this, or they don't need this, but one of the things that's most important is to put a lot of positive energy around this habit. When we get frustrated with ourselves, when we go down, when we're like, we must do it, it's harder. It demotivates us. It keeps us from moving forward. It keeps us from making positive steps. But if you take time to celebrate, if you give yourself a thumbs up, or say you're awesome, or take a selfie. I like to take, after I exercise, I take a picture of myself and put it on my social feeds. And my friends like it, and it's a really strong motivator. It takes me 30 seconds to do. Jumping up and down, on his website, there are like over 80 different things that you can do. Really small, tiny things, not like after I brush my teeth, I will buy myself a Maserati. It's really tiny things. A lot of people say, well, I don't need that. I don't need that stuff, but, and they skip this part. and they do it to their detriment, because when you connect something, a celebration, something positive to the completion of a habit, you create a link in your brain that reinforces the fact that this habit's fun and it inspires future change. You may or may not know this, there's a chemical called dopamine in our brains that creates a rush of pleasure after we've accomplished something. The more you celebrate the finishing of the habit, the more dopamine you get, the more you want to make changes, the farther you go. It creates a virtuous cycle, a virtuous spiral. So really think about this, having that habit of thinking you're awesome. So I'm gonna stop here for a second and see if Harry, do we have any questions or any comments in the chat? I just want to see if we have any thoughts. What's coming up for people so far?
No questions, but so far, but feel free to type something in if you do have some. Somebody mentioned that just as you got started in the presentation, just that networking has been quite a challenge for them for INFP. I'm assuming that's their assessment, more introverted. And then just somebody else made the comment that this is awesome, great message. I love this, and I agree. And I got to tell you, you told me yesterday about your story about the exercise leading to triathlons, and that inspired me. I got on the exercise bike yesterday, and starting a habit there, because I think I talked about it with you yesterday, is that I always think about it, well, if I get on, I got to do it at least 20 or 30 minutes. Well, no, I'll get on for 5 minutes, and then we'll go from there. But
that's awesome.
It's you can achieve big things by starting small.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And yeah, they start with those small habits, and they build over time. If you start small, and then you're going to start setting bigger. It's just inherent in us. If you create something positive, if you take a positive step, you create a virtuous spiral by finding yourself happy about it. You're just going to want to do more. You're going to want more of that dopamine, and you want to move further and challenge yourself more. So, but you need to start with those smaller steps. So as we know, networking, not going to lie, challenging. We need to get in the habit of doing it. And so I'm going to show you some ways to network. They're small. You may have other ones that you want to do, and we're going to use these. We're going to use one of these actions to create a tiny habit so that we can walk out of here with a habit to move us forward with our networking. So here's just some really simple things you can do to networking. Small, take less than 5 minutes. One thing is to send a note to a LinkedIn connection. Join a new group. So that could either be an online group through LinkedIn, or it could be a group here in your local area. A lot of us have groups in our career choice. Like for me, there's a Association of Talent Development. I'm connected in my organization, and it makes all sorts of connections. So just joining that group is helping you. Attend a networking event. It's hard. It's so hard when you're an INFP, Myers-Briggs, when you're introverted. But if you can, attend that event, that's so powerful. I've gotten so many not so many, but I've gotten numerous job offers after having attended a networking event. Research, follow industry influencers. Start taking a look at yourself as an influencer in your industry. If you are in AI, or you're a computer programmer, start researching people who are influencers, connect to them, and start making connections. Show people in your LinkedIn that you know what's going on in your industry. Show those recruiters that you know what's going on. Write a LinkedIn article. Again, you might want to do this to again create this vision of yourself as a subject matter expert. It creates a lot of positive change it increases your visibility. It gives you something to talk to people about. It's something that impresses recruiters, and it's a great way to, as you're networking, say, have you seen my article? Some more. So So some simple ones: send a LinkedIn connection request. Takes 30 seconds. Write a nice little note and send a request. Engage with a post. See a friend who's mentioning something, put a like and send a comment or send a repost. It not only supports your friend, but it makes sure that you have other things in your feed. After you've had a meeting, send up a follow message. Let people know, say thank you, let them know how much their time meant to you, reiterate that you appreciated them, and reiterate the goals that you have. Set up a coffee Zoom date. I didn't say have the coffee Zoom date, I said set it up. That takes 30 seconds. And then, when you're talking to, after you've had the conversation with people, send an article from LinkedIn to them. Send it to a LinkedIn buddy or to a networking buddy. It's another way to show that you are you're knowledgeable in the industry. It also shows that you're thinking of them. It's a new way to make sure you're in their awareness without being like, do you have a job yet? Do you have a job yet? It's a classy way to be of service. So these ways to network, these are just some. You've probably heard of many, many. I would encourage you to work with Crossroads. They have free coaching services. They can help you get into more details about how to network. So you can choose to use these, or you can choose to use your own, but I'd like you to start thinking about one habit that you would like to get into. And we're going to talk about how to make it a tiny habit. So a tiny habit would be, so send a note to a LinkedIn connection. Let's use that. That takes longer than 30 seconds. But if I wanted to create a tiny habit, let's practice. So if I were going to create a tiny habit, I would, let's use it in the morning. I want to do it first thing. After I put my coffee cup away, I will look up one person to contact, which means I go into my LinkedIn profile, I look at my contacts, and I find one person. That takes 30 seconds or 2 minutes at most. So it's a very small habit. I can do it even when I'm completely unmotivated. And that's the habit. I'm not saying you have to reach out to that person. You probably will, since you're already there and you're looking at it. But the habit is to look at that person. I have my coffee. I look for a person to talk to. And then finally, I celebrate. So in terms of celebration, this is I cheer myself on. So I've done this habit. I've done it. I've had my coffee. I've already done something productive, and I tell myself, "Way to go! High five!" Whatever makes it make sense to you. Really allow yourself to feel that and create that virtuous spiral of pride in yourself and enthusiasm and motivation. Just keep on going up and up and up. So that's one way you might consider creating a networking habit, but you probably have your own habit. So first, what I'd like to do, we're going to create this habit right now. First thing I would like you to do is I would like you to spend a few minutes writing down all the habits you have from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed. Anything that you do on a habitual basis. It can be feeding, doing the dishes. It can be feeding your pets. It can be, the last email you send out. It could be around lunch. A lot of them happen around mealtime. Just spend a few minutes writing down all of your habits. As many habits as you can think of. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat.
Sometimes that can be a challenge figuring it out itself. There's so many things we do without thinking about them, but they are habits, obviously. Yeah. But we don't even realize that we just go through our routines each day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's these routine things that we do. It's gonna be an interesting process. You're not gonna finish it today. You're gonna, as you go on about your days, in the next week or so, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I do that every day. I stop by the coffee shop every day. You're going to find these habits over time, these small little things that you do on a regular basis.
Yeah, somebody mentioned, so true. It's all second nature.
Yeah. which is powerful because there are it's a gold mine of opportunities to attach new, healthier habits to it.
Somebody's getting a few comments here. One of them, the celebration can be just seeing a connection happen for someone else.
Yeah.
I was able to make an introduction in the last couple of weeks, and it was very rewarding to see the response. People want to help out and are thrilled to be asked for help. You know, I think this is so important, and what a lot of times people don't realize. They think they're imposing on everybody, but people like the privilege of being able to help. Sometimes they don't know how to help. And so, you know, in networking, it's, I think, so often so much more productive to ask people of who else they know that would be worthwhile for you to talk to, rather than just asking everybody if they know of a job. And people love to be able to help. They just don't, it's very often they don't know how to help. And so we can help them help us by giving them other ideas.
Completely agree. People love to help. It's part of our human nature to want to help. And so being able to reach out to them and giving people specific, asking for advice, asking for specific information, people love to do that.
Absolutely. So mentioning, you're forgetting a huge networking opportunity, volunteering, and it's free.
That's great.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes.
And, you know, while you're unemployed, you have more flexibility in your day. You have more opportunity to be able to find a way to volunteer. And, you know, there's a number of stories of people that have been through Crossroads over the years that found jobs because through volunteering, they're connecting with other people and are able to get some additional referrals and help along the way. But at the very least, it's hard to feel discouraged about your own situation when you're helping someone else. And so it's great for your own mental attitude as well.
And you know what would be a good tiny habit to go with that? So I'm going to use the coffee analogy again. Every day after I have my cup of coffee, I'm going to write down one way I can help people. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it, but just write one new way that you can help people. Write it down on a Post-it and put it up. That's how you take that big habit of, I want to help, I want to volunteer, which can feel overwhelming, down to, I'm going to write one way that I can help people.
I like it.
Which I would encourage. So now that you've got the habits, let's move on to the tiny habits. So again, as we just talked about the help people, again, it's a big thing and it's so important, but it can be overwhelming. Where do I start? I don't know what organization, will they want me? Et cetera, et cetera. How do I help? So the tiny habit is to think of a way. The tiny habit is not to do the activity, it's just to think of a way. And so if you just get in the habit of every day I have coffee, I pull out a Post-it and I write down one thing I can do to help people. Don't have to necessarily do it, but you have one thing you can do. After you do a week, that means you have, 5 or 7 different ways that you can help people. And probably, after you get in the habit of doing it, you're probably going to you're going to start doing it. You're going to be inspired and you're going to start doing it. That's the tiny habits, those really, really small things, 30 seconds to 3 minutes, small thing you can do even when you're completely unmotivated. So I'd like you to think of a tiny habit having to do with networking. You may have a big goal of getting more informational interviews. What's that one tiny step that's at the very beginning of getting more informational interviews that you can take? Which one step? Like, is it research? Is it going to LinkedIn and typing in into my network's specific company? What's that small, tiny first thing that you can do? It's like when you, Harry, when you're talking about, getting on the bicycle, like it's easy to get on the bike. It's easy to do it for 5 minutes. When you talk about networking, the thing that you want to think of is like, what is that very, very first step that you can take in moving forward? So, say I want to write a thank you note. That, I'm kind of unmotivated today. I don't want to do it. But what I can do is open up my email and write the person's address in the mail and write the subject line. So what is that small step that you can do on a regular basis that's so small you can do it even when you're unmotivated?
One thing that can be a small step for everyone, but often the best people to network with are anyone that knows you professionally, anyone you've worked
Yep.
with even over the last 15 or 20 years, and just keep adding to the list. Mentally go through who are all the people I've worked with over the years, and then you can ultimately look them up. Where are they now on LinkedIn? And anybody that knows you professionally is potentially an advocate for you somewhere else. But keep going back to that list every day. Who else isn't on this list yet that I've worked with that might be worthwhile for me to reach out to? And so keep adding to that list day after day. And sooner or later, you're going to get motivated to start reaching out to them. And all you have to do is send them a note. And that's the next small step. And then finally setting up meetings with them, or a phone conversation or Zoom meeting or something else.
One person a day. Just have to think through one person a day, and that's your habit. And that's the thing that I love that, Harry. That's a great tiny habit to start with. And you're right, you will get motivated. You're going to find over time, as you think through that so many more people than you think you do. And there's so many more people who want to support you and help you and lift you up. And the more you start thinking along those lines, the more that you're going to find. And then finally, celebration. Once I do my habit, I'm going to use Harry's one of looking for, writing down one person that you might want to network with. Once I do that, after I have my coffee, at my desk, I will think of one person. I will write down one person who I want to network with, and then I will celebrate. And when you think of these celebrations, like, fist pumping may feel silly to you, or saying you're awesome might feel silly to you. Really think through something that would really make you feel good. So, and again, small, like I said, the fist pumping didn't necessarily work for me, but boy, howdy, taking a picture and putting on my social media saying that I got my goal really works for me. Like it takes 30 seconds. And I usually, my friends cheer me on. I get lots of likes and lots of comments, makes me feel good. So that works for me. So you're going to think through this. So think of some ways, again, and also if I hadn't mentioned this, in his on his website for Tiny Habits, he has like 80 different ways that you can celebrate. Again, really short things. So just start brainstorming a list. You may not come up with the perfect thing, but just start, thinking about it. Let's give you a couple minutes to think through that, or a minute to think through that. Any other comments, Harry?
Yeah, someone just added, just start and celebrate the baby steps, maybe by writing it on a Post-it note. I have posted the 20 simple habits with the highest ROI. First item was sleeping 7 to 8 hours. I never thought about how to celebrate it. Thank you for
cool.
adding that part to it.
Yeah, I love that. I want to see that. I want to see that habit. I want to see that list. But yeah, celebration is key. Again, it's just, when you feel bad, when you fail at something, then you feel bad, then you're not going to want to do it. But if you take a habit that's really small and you do well, you're going to want to do more of it. The more positive vibrations you can put around your habit, and frankly, around job search, the more you can find reasons to cheer yourself on, to be proud of yourself, to make progress, the more you create that atmosphere of positivity, the more effective you're going to be. Okay.
There's another one here that I missed earlier. She says, I'm going to be honest and say that there are some major changes I need to make with my mind. I think all of this is a mental game for us, right? I've been unemployed now for 15 months, and I have even blown an excellent volunteer opportunity because of great fear that I will fail at it and cause others painful situations to be worse. I'm spending more time listening to others' negative voices rather than focusing on what God can do through me as I move forward in fear. That's those negative voices in our head sabotages us so much, and surrounding yourself with people that are positive and monitoring what you're dwelling on and thinking about. I quote this often, but it's one of my favorite quotes that I think for myself all the time. There's by Martin Luther. He said, you can't keep a bird from landing on your head, but you can keep it from building a nest, meaning that negative ideas and thoughts will pop into your head all the time. That's just human nature, and we can't really prevent that. But do we allow it to dwell? Do we allow ourselves to dwell on those and let it, fester in there and cause us to falter? Or do we change, do we recognize, hey, that's negative, let's shift gears and do something else? And for me, I can't just sit in place and change my thinking on something. It's like thinking about, don't think of pink elephants. You can't avoid it, but I have to physically get up and do something different to get my mind on another track.
Yes. First of all, I hear you. I've been there. So it's really easy. I mean, we all know it. It's hard. Looking for job transition is hard, and it is easy to get negative. And and by using tiny habits, this is another tool that you can use to start training your brain to think a little differently. So for instance, one thing you can do that Dr. Fogg talks about is that every time you wake up, sit up in your bed, or, you open your eyes to say, for him, he says, today's going to be a great day. And that starts his day. Every morning he opens his eyes, he says, today's going to be a great day. And he takes time to actually try and feel it. I use one, and that didn't work and he said, that may not work for you. Try something else. So I tried. So when I wake up, I say something delightful might happen today. That just makes me, it works for me. It makes me feel good. So every time I wake up, I say something delightful might happen today. And I don't try and make it happen, but I just set that framework. I just say something delightful might happen for me today. And then I go on about my day. It's small, it's simple, it takes 10 seconds to do. And it's a game changer. It changes your day. Another example would be, I think Harry and I were talking about the fact that it's so often when we take a look at things that we have to do for networking, you say, I have to do this. I have to do this. I don't want to do this. I have to do this, which is understandable. Like, this stuff is hard. I'm not going to lie. This stuff is hard. But a tiny habit would be is that every time after you say, I have to do this, just say the phrase, I get to do this. I'm not saying you have to believe it. I'm not trying to say, turn your brain upside down. I'm just saying, literally get in the habit of saying, once you say, I have to do this, every time after you say that, or think that, then think, I get to do this. Don't have to believe it. Just get in the habit of saying, I get to do this. Over time, after that repetition, you will find that it will change your mood over time. Small things, tiny things. So I think by now, you probably all have these tiny habits, that you've got a recipe for tiny habits. Here's the truth. They may not work. Remember the part where I said that you're an experimenter? The first time you try a habit, there's an excellent chance that it won't be the right combination of an anchor habit, tiny habit, and celebration. But if you commit to the point of experimenting, I'm going to tweak this, I'm going to try this. I forgot yesterday, maybe I need to have a better anchor. Or, this behavior really isn't inspiring me. I'm going to dig a little deeper to find one that is. Or, I forgot to celebrate and I'm feeling down on myself. What can I do to get myself to celebrate? Experiment. Keep on staying in the process of tweaking the behavior, and you will find one. Here are some tips to think about when creating the behaviors. So the first one is to really feel it. You're going to know you have the right habit when it's like, you're like, oh yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Like, so for instance, Dr. Fogg says, today's going to be a great day. That felt a little like, I don't know, it felt fake to me. It felt like something I couldn't really buy in. But I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought delight, delight, delight. I said, I think saying something delightful might happen to me today. I felt that. I was like, ooh, that's exciting. So as you're thinking through your habits, think about finding, do some reflection about what really makes you feel it. You'll know, there'll be like kind of a like, things will align. You'll have a visceral feeling of like, okay, yes, I can do this. And then start again. You will very likely have a habit. You'll have the best of intention of doing it, and then you'll forget. You'll walk out of here, life will happen, your kid will need to be taken to school or need to pay a bill, and you'll totally forget about this. That's okay. That's part of the process. One of the first things that happens is you forget. When you remember, that's another chance to celebrate. Just start again when you remember. You can always start again. Anytime you forget and then you remember, that's a chance to celebrate. Celebrate the fact that you remembered and get right back on it. It's gonna take a habit to remember. Again, always celebrate. Link habits to pleasure in your brain. Make that connection, that neural pathway between the idea of finishing habits and the pleasure of celebrating. Get yourself into that positive habit. Again, I just can't say this enough. It's hard, but the more you can like really protect your brain and be really loving to yourself and say, I'm gonna concentrate on the things that I like, even if it's hard to do, even if I'm not totally feeling the celebration right now, I'm gonna try putting positive energy around these goals. Not about hitting the big goal of getting a job, which you're all gonna, by the way, you're all gonna get a job. It's gonna work out. It's all gonna be fine. But instead of thinking about, oh, will I or will I not get a job, think about what small step can I take today? Can I make a tiny step? Can I research an article? Is that one thing that I can do? Be proud of yourself for looking for that article. Be proud of yourself that you find it. Celebrate over and over again. You're going to get to that positive mood. It's going to take you out of that Eeyore place if you just commit to celebrating. And then, as I said, this is the biggest one. Keep on experimenting. If you find a habit, it doesn't work, no problem. If it isn't working, it's the experiment. It is not you. You just need to tweak the experiment. And keep going. Again, if you commit to continuing to experiment and trying, it will work out. Just keep on doing, keep on tweaking that experiment. It is not you. It just needs to be tweaked. You need to find this set of levers that helps create change. And creating that change will help you move forward on the goal. And the goal will get you to your end destination. You got this. You started taking a very small step. You took a step by coming here, getting up in the morning, 7:30 in the morning for people in Central Standard Time. That's the big step. You used your will to get here. You've learned a lot of small things that you can do along the way, and those small things are going to get you to crossing the finish line. You got this. Here are some resources. As I mentioned, there's a Tiny Habits website. Tons of really great materials. And I think this is so cool. They have a 5-minute or a 5-day coaching program for free, and they're not even trying to sell you other things. So you can work with a coach to develop and maintain a habit. They'll hold you accountable for 5 days for free. And then the books, Tiny Habits, Small Changes That Change Everything. Really cool book, really fast read, really inspiring. I encourage you to take advantage of these resources. And that's what I know. So I'm so grateful to spend this time with you. Thank you for your energy and your attention. And you got this.
That's terrific. Got some additional comments here. One of them, I love this. She says, I'm part of a LinkedIn group called Hello Monday that ends the weekly office hours with a gratitude practice. I try to end my day with at least one thing I'm grateful for. It could be a roof over my head. It could be the coffee date, etc. I think having that attitude of gratitude changes everything. And when you can really, all of us by human nature, tend to focus on the things that aren't perfect in our lives, but reminding ourselves of everything that is good that we do have, that we can be grateful for, I think is so critically important. And I love that. I didn't know. I'm going to have to look that up. A LinkedIn group called Hello Monday.
Yeah, I gotta check that out too.
Yeah.
One of my favorite sayings is what you appreciate appreciates. So the more, I love the fact that it's one thing that you're looking for, or one thing for gratitude, just one. But as you grow, as you look for the one, then you notice the other. It's confirmation bias. You start noticing more and more things. So what you appreciate appreciates. Sorry, Harry, what?
No, I agree. Somebody else says, I think I'm hearing people think of networking as an uphill battle, but really this changes the story to a little start can get a snowball rolling downhill.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, yay. Yay, yay, yay. I'm glad. Yeah, I totally agree.
And someone says, I think I'll find a favorite song to play as a celebration, my new theme song.
I love that. I love that. I love a theme song. That's brilliant. I never heard of someone do that. That's brilliant.
Yep. This is a good strategy and pathway for attainable motivation, appreciating the process. I agree. And
yes.
just a lot of other good compliments. Somebody says, I think this will be a game changer. I totally agree. As I said, I got on the exercise bike. It's in my office and it's here all the time. And it's, like, unfortunately, like a lot of people, it's become a coat hanger more than it's become an exercise tool. But I'm changing that a few minutes a day and to start with, and it'll grow again. I think this has been terrific, Sherry. I mean, it's just
good.
I think it's so doable. People realize, I can make little steps. I don't have to eat the elephant all in one bite. You can finish an elephant just one bite at a time. And that is the key. I think too many of us look at the mountain instead of the next 5 feet up the hill.
Yay. Good. I'm so glad that you guys find it useful. Again, try it. If you forget, do it again, start at the beginning, and please, if you nothing else, continue experimenting.
Absolutely. Well, thanks. Let me shift gears here and share my screen. Sherry, if I can ask you to stop share on yours. There we go. And have a few things that I want to, let me find it. Here we go. So I'll cover a number of things here that you can take advantage of through Crossroads. But first, and I'll cover these in more depth here in a couple of minutes. But I want you, if you're local here in the Minneapolis area, these are both great opportunities to get in-depth, better help on your job search. One is once a quarter, we do a full-day job search workshop on a Saturday, and that's coming up Saturday, October 12th. Everything I'm going to be talking about, you can always find the details on our website at mncrossroads.com. And so you can see all the details there and everything involved. But this full day job search workshop, whether you're just starting out your job search or you're well into it and just need another kickstart to get some fresh ideas, some inspiration, some new motivation to be able to get out and do everything as effectively as you can. This is the thing. I think so many people struggle with their job search, not because they aren't motivated or that they don't have the discipline or whatever, but because it's, for a lot of people, nobody wants to become a professional job seeker. You just want to move into your next job and move on, right? And not sure what are the most effective things I could be doing. What should my resume look like? How does networking work effectively, and how can I do it better? How can I interview better? All those things we cover in depth, and encourage you to take advantage of that. So that's Saturday, October 12th. And then Friday, October 18th is our large-scale Crossroads Corporate Professionals Job Fair. And we used to do these once a year, and before the pandemic, we haven't done it since, so we're getting back in gear now. Our last one in 2019, we had nearly 100 companies and somewhere between 800 and 1,000 people that came. We're going to be starting out smaller. We'll probably be 40 to 50 companies this time, and hoping to get 400 to 500 people there. But really encourage you to take advantage of it. Most job fairs that are out there are geared more towards hourly positions, whether they're in manufacturing or retail or healthcare or a number of other things. Ours, we're making clear to the companies that are coming, this is a corporate professionals job fair, whether you're in accounting or marketing or HR or IT or whatever it is that you do, that are looking for positions at a corporate level in a company. That's what they're targeting. And so encourage you to be there if you can. It'll be a great event. We always have had a number of people land jobs because of opportunities they found through the job fair or connections they made. So I'll give you a few more details as we go on here this morning yet too. Everything that we have, that we offer with schedules and updates and details and registration is on our website, mncrossroads.com. In addition, we do have a job board. There's a number of companies in the area that know what we do, know that great people participate. And so they post positions on our job board. And so there's a wide variety of roles that get posted there. I mean, we're not populated like Indeed.com is, right? But there's a lot of great positions. Interesting to me is our biggest poster on there that posts the most jobs is the state of Minnesota, which I'm not sure how that came about, but I'm grateful for them. And there's a lot of great jobs there too. But we have a lot of other companies that post too. So check that out regularly. There's new positions getting posted every week. Kind of our main seminar cadence each month is that the first Thursday of each month, we meet in person only at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. And that one is our biggest event. We typically have 50 or more people that come. We have a seminar presentation like you had this morning on some job search topic. But then we also have our networking group that meets after that from 9 to 11. And then each Thursday, we just started this last month, we've kind of got a micro job fair where there's anywhere from 1 to maybe 8 or 9 companies that'll show up with opportunities, and you get a chance to talk to people from those companies and meet them, make some new connections, and hopefully find some positions that might work out for you. So take advantage of that if you can, if you're in this area here, but at Grace Church in Eden Prairie every Thursday morning, first Thursday morning of each month. Details are on the website. Second Thursday evening of each month at 7 p.m., we meet at Woodbury Lutheran Church, so on the other side of town, and we have a topical presentation there. And then the third Thursday morning, which you're on right now, we are online as a webinar. And one thing I love about this is we get people from all over the country, and we have people now signed up from all different parts of the country. And it's a great way to be able to help on a broader scale. All the details are always online. All our upcoming seminars and webinars are posted there, and you can see what topics are coming up. On a weekly basis, there's multiple ways you can get plugged in. We have our Networking with Grace group, which is really professional, focused networking for business professionals that you can trade contacts and ideas and leads and get a lot of great help on a very practical basis from that. Wes Tang on my team leads that, and he does an incredible job of making sure everybody walks out with something each week, and you can help each other. And really, he emphasizes give before you get. Try to help others, and then others will try to help you as well. But the first Thursday of each month, they meet in person at Grace Church following our seminar. But then every subsequent Thursday each month, they meet online through a Zoom meeting. And you do need to register for those Zoom meetings in advance. The details are on the website, and the registration page there. But encourage you to take advantage of that. You can do that every week or whenever you can make it. It's a great way to stay plugged in and get some additional help. We have one-on-one coaching available. If you want to meet with one of our volunteers to talk about any aspect of your job search, you can sign up online through the form, and one of our volunteers will reach out to you to set up a phone call or a Zoom meeting. And you can talk about your resume or prepare for an interview or get help with networking, or just to talk through where things are at in your situation and get some fresh ideas from somebody that gets it. And that's one of the things Sherry and I were talking earlier. I think for so many people, just to be able to process through where things are at and get some ideas from somebody that understands, and you know, it's an emotional roller coaster, and sometimes, you know, you've got friends and family that might be supportive but don't necessarily get what the challenges are. And so feel free to sign up for that anytime, take advantage of it as often as you'd like. As I mentioned, this can be and is for almost everybody an emotional roller coaster, and so getting some additional spiritual support can help as well. And so we have a team that loves to pray for you. They pray for the our participants in general, but if you have a specific prayer request, we have a page on our website for that. You can submit that there and somebody will pray for you. Or if you really want to talk to somebody more about your emotional roller coaster and get some additional and a little more ongoing spiritual support, we have a soul care team of people that will meet with you online through a Zoom meeting on a more regular basis. So you can check out the details for that online and take advantage of that. The most in-depth help and ongoing help you can get is through our online classes. We have an 8-week small group class that is on a Zoom meeting each week for an hour and a half for 8 weeks. And it covers every aspect of a job search. We cover everything starting with getting in, having the right frame of mind and attitude about where things are at. As I mentioned earlier, nobody wants to hire an Eeyore, and so many times people come across as discouraged or carrying a lot of baggage or from their previous situation or whatever it is. And so we talk about that, and we talk about how do you do some assessments to be able to describe yourself more convincingly, and talk a lot about networking and targeting companies and resumes and interviewing and negotiating and a lot more. And involved with that as well is some weekly light accountability, just being in a group that is on the same page, and you know, having some expectations there, I think can help, and getting some encouragement and moral support, and realizing you're not an island in this process. And then we also explore what's God's perspective of your job search in your life throughout this as well. So we have a new class that's starting each month. You can check the details online. I'll be starting one here coming up on October 15th. And so you can register for that if you're interested. But it's more prolonged. We go in more depth on each of the topics, and it's a great way to stay plugged in. And I think, you know, as much as the content is really strong and you gain some confidence in knowing you're doing the right things for your job search, I think equally important is that moral support and support from others that you get, and knowing that you're not just by yourself in this process. So check it out, sign up, and take advantage of that. It's free, and so we encourage you to do it. Our LinkedIn group, it's a great way to stay up to date with what's going on at Crossroads. It's there's people contribute all kinds of additional ideas and resources online. Sometimes jobs get posted in there, but more importantly, it's a great way for you to gain contacts and then give back after you land in a new job. So there's over 2,500 people that are in that LinkedIn group, most of which have you know, certainly landed jobs a long time ago. They've all participated in Crossroads at one point, and they're just available to be networking contacts for you at the companies that they're at now. And so you can look through our members list there and see people that are perhaps at companies that you're trying to pursue, and reach out to them and just ask for advice and insight and get some referrals from them or whatever help they're willing to provide you. And then after you land in a new job, stay in the group and just be available for others to reach out as well. It's a great way to give back. So check out our LinkedIn group. If you put in MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box in LinkedIn, you're going to find two things that come up. One is our LinkedIn group, which I encourage you to sign up for, and then also for our company page on LinkedIn. And I encourage you to follow that too, because the more followers we have, the more visible we become on LinkedIn, and more people can find out about us and take advantage of the resources as well. So encourage you to put MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box and sign up for both, follow both aspects there. We have our YouTube channel that has all our webinars, all the webinars we did over the pandemic, 3 years worth plus, which were weekly at that point, and then now once a month they get put into the recordings get put into our YouTube channel. So this webinar will be posted in there probably before the end of the day today, as soon as I can get to it. And so you can review this if you choose to, or find other topics too. I love it. Skip, one of our other volunteers, he always says, curl up with your significant other on a Friday night and watch job search videos. Maybe you have better things to do, but there's some great topics and resources in there as well. As I mentioned, our full day workshop is coming up on October 12th. It is one of the few things we charge for. There is a $20 fee. However, if cost would prevent you from coming, please email us. There's a link on the website to email us about it. We don't want anybody to miss because of cost. So their scholarships are available, but the $20 includes course materials. You'll get a workbook with everything we talk about during the day, and lunch is included as well as plenty of coffee available and snacks to keep you going through the day too. But you can see all the topics there that are available to you, and we certainly encourage you to find the details online and sign up for that. And then the Corporate Professionals Job Fair, that's going to be coming up. We'll have probably more than 40 companies focused on corporate roles, and we have seminars throughout the day as well. So we have different speakers coming in to talk about different topics that are very relevant for your job search, and you can see all the details for that online as well. It's free, and certainly encourage you to take advantage of getting a chance to meet with a number of good companies. I just want to acknowledge we have actually over 40 people that volunteer for Crossroads in one way or another, and I'm grateful for all of them. It enables us to do all the things we do, and we wouldn't be able to have all these different events if it weren't for all the contributions and help we get from everybody involved. And so I just want to acknowledge them and thank them for their time. Nobody's getting a paycheck. It's all because people bring expertise and have a heart to help others as well. If you don't have a church home and you're here in the Twin Cities, or if you want to watch online, we have Grace Church and Woodbury Lutheran Church that support Crossroads, and encourage you to check out each of them to get great teaching and some support from others, moral and spiritual support, and get plugged into having a church community that can really be significant in your life. Our next event is coming up, our in-person meeting in Eden Prairie on Thursday morning, October 3rd. And this is going to be a great presentation by Graham Riley, Securing New Job Opportunities on LinkedIn. Graham is exceptional, and this topic is particularly helpful for people. So if you're local, encourage you to come in, and then following that presentation, we'll have our networking group meeting and the micro job fair as well. So plan on being here for the whole morning, and I guarantee it'll be worthwhile for you. So we're a little bit over time. I am grateful you guys have been here. I hope it was worthwhile for you. I appreciate all the comments that you have put into the chat box, and that it was worthwhile for you. And I hope to see you at another event, or better yet, we don't see you because you landed a new job and you're off and running in your new career. Glad you were here. Have a great day. Oh, let me stop share here, and hope to see you at some other events soon. Take care. And there we go.